All right. Hey, we're back, but not really. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 118.5, I think is what I'm going to call this. Um, it was supposed to be Bride of Chucky, like it's been supposed to be Bride of Chucky the last, 2 weeks or so. And we recorded Bride of Chucky. It happened. But then my computer broke, which is good and bad because the good being that we're pretty sure we know what the problem is this time, so this should hopefully be the last time this happens. But the bad being that, it broke and I hadn't edited Bride of Chucky yet and got it ready, so it's just sort of stuck in limbo right now on a broken computer. Which I'm trying to get fixed right now. You might not even hear this episode. This might not even come out if it's able to get fixed in time. The regular episode might just come out a little late if that happens later tonight. But if not, then this is what you're getting. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't feel like watching another movie. I was feeling a little bit down, honestly, because it's just, you work all week and then the weekend comes around and you're like, all right, cool, get to chill out and do all this stuff. And then the computer's busted and you're having to deal with that and then drop money on more parts to hopefully fix it. And it's just a pain in the ass. I started the movie and got like 5 minutes in and I was like, I don't want to watch this. And I didn't want to miss a Friday. We've been going over 2 years with not a missed Friday episode of some sort. So I'm doing this where basically the plan, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Munsters, Rob Zombie's The Munsters, because I don't plan on us ever doing a full episode. I don't think Tyler even wants to watch it. But I watched it. And, just talking about some other random bullshit for a little bit. I don't know how long this episode will be. And it's not really, a legit full episode. That's why I'm titling it, 0.5. If, I'm a big fan of the Jackass movies and, the 2.5 and 3.5 and stuff. So, I don't know. I'm just titling it 0.5. And then next week for sure, Bride of Chucky should be out. Because if the computer isn't fixed by today, it should be ready by Monday or something. I'll get it all ready and the part comes in Wednesday or something, so it's just a mess. But so sorry. But anyway, let's talk about the Munsters a little bit. Rob Zombie's The Munsters. Like I said, what episode was it? Maybe it was the demonic podcast we did. But I talked about how I watched it and I thought it was just maybe Rob Zombie's worst movie he's ever done. Then a week later, I did remember Halloween 2. So I retracted my previous statement of the worst movie he's ever done because, like I said, Halloween 2. And honestly, 3 from Hell was really bad. So 3 from Hell might be worse than The Munsters. Nah, The Munsters is still pretty bad. It's fine for, I'm sure, a kid's movie, kids like it, and, and I guess that's probably the target, well, I was going to say that's probably the target demographic, but, The Munsters is, late 80s, or into the 90s kids, so, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds now, who are going to be watching this movie, and, I don't know, it just wasn't very good. The acting choices in it are very strange, and like I said, I'm not a big historian on the Munsters, so maybe this is how it's always been. I'm sure I watched some of the other movies when I was younger, but I don't remember much about them, but yeah, it's just, obviously he brings back his wife Sherry Moon Zombie, who's been in every movie that we've watched of his, to play the main lady. Fuck, what is even her name? Let me look up it's on the, not Loretta. I don't know why I'm thinking Loretta. Morticia, is that it? Morticia? Let me see. The Munsters. Let me pull this up real fast. Or is Morticia the Addams family? Lily. I'm gonna be honest. I had no idea her name was Lily until just this moment. So Morticia is the Addams family, right? Because the Addams family, they have a show now on Netflix Wednesday, right? And I think I've watched more Addams Family stuff than I ever have the Munsters. But for some reason, I get them very confused. Like, they have like Uncle Fester in Addams Family, right? But he always reminded me of Frankenstein's monster. So I just kind of always, I don't know, I just kind of always mix them together, but different. They're different fucking movies and shows and all that. But yeah, Sherry Moon Zombie is in it playing Lily, and it's just very like I don't know. It's just very weird acting choices on her part, which I guess she's always been full of those. I mean, we've gone over House of a Thousand Corpses where she's just laughing maniacally the whole movie, and it somehow fits her character, but at the same time is the worst part of the movie. And then they tone it down drastically in like the next two. But yeah, she's playing Lily. Jeff Daniel Phillips is playing Herman, who he was in Three from Hell. He was the jail warden who they like take him and his family hostage, and Ron Howard there's the clown, and they like kill all of them. And he was also in Halloween 2, which I mentioned before. He was like the bouncer at the strip club that Michael like goes in, and he like caves in his head in the parking lot with a big stomp and shit. And he plays Herman, and I couldn't tell if his acting was the best part of the movie or if it was the worst. Like, they made Herman, like, first off, he's like a rock star, which I don't know if that's, if that's canon. Like, if in the show or whatever, he was a rock star. But he's, like, part of a band, and his manager is that fat dude from Lost, who I can't remember his name right now. Curly? Is that not Curly? It can't be Curly. But, he's, like, the only guy I know from Lost. And he plays, like, he's like a hunchback sort of dude. But yeah, he ends up becoming like his manager, and the dude from Three from Hell who replaces Captain Spaulding, who's like Bill Moseley's brother or cousin or whatever, he plays the guy who like creates Herman. And the whole deal, there is a funny little joke where there's like two brothers who both died. One of them's like a criminal, and he's like the dumbest fucking dude in the world or whatever. And the other one's like this, celebrated, mathematician or something, like this real smart dude. And they're buried side by side, and the newscaster is like, they're twins, but only a pure idiot could confuse the two. And so, homie from Three from Hell, and he was in Mandy, he's the guy with the tiger, sends in the guy from Lost to go get the brain of the smart dude to put in his creation. But of course, he's fucking dumb, so he takes the criminal dummy brain and puts that in Herman. But then, they end up just believing that Herman's like the smart dude anyway. It's almost like Idiocracy at some points. Like, Herman's just this bumbling idiot, and the whole time everyone's like, oh man, this guy's really smart, and I dig his style, and all this shit. Yeah, and then Daniel Roebuck plays the grandpa, like Count Dracula, and honestly, he's probably the best part of the movie, the Count Dracula. He's pretty good in it. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. The weird part is, I don't know if it's because all of Rob Zombie's movies have been so gritty and nasty looking, and this one, like, I think it's like Warner Brothers. I think it's like a Warner Brothers movie. Universal. It's a Universal movie, And I don't know if they just gave him like all of the budget. They gave him 5 mil for the budget. That doesn't seem like that much. But then again, I don't know how much he got for all his previous movies. But all the other ones have been so grimy looking, and this one is so HD that it almost looks like an indie movie. Like, there's parts of it that it's like, I don't know, there's like no filter. It's like they just shot it and then put it onto film, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't seem like I can't explain it, but if you've watched it, if you've seen it, maybe you know what I'm talking about, where it's so HD it almost looks like an indie movie you would see, where like it looks like a student film, like it's shot on like an iPhone, like that type of quality. Plug for iPhone there, I guess, for so HD. But yeah, I don't know, it's too HD for me. That sounds weird, but like I want some grime. Yeah, Rick Grimes. The cool part about, though, is, boy, do they go all in on the colors. Like, this whole movie is just filled with bright greens and reds and blues and all these neons and stuff. And the coloring of this movie is really cool. Like, there's a bunch of weird transitions, which Rob Zombie's full of. Like I said, I watched this with my folks, because my dad wanted to watch it, and so I sort of got suckered in to watch it. I didn't want to watch it, but I got suckered into watching it. And, there's all these weird transitions, and there's a bunch of parts of the movie where characters are just watching TV, and there'll be like a short that they film that's on the TV, and my parents are like, what the fuck is going on? But since we've gone through and watched all these movies, like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is his thing. Like, he's not surprising me with this stuff. But he just has all these, like, it's almost like 70s-ish, like, art style with all the colors and the transitions and stuff, that are really fun. But that's about the highlight of the movie for me. There is a Nosferatu is in the movie. I don't remember what they call him, like his name in the movie. They don't call him Nosferatu. He has like a real name. The Nosferatu makeup looked great. It looked really good. Like, it looked like Nosferatu, if that makes sense. It looked great. But like, Sherry Moon Zombie goes on a date with him because she's looking for, a soulmate, or, a boyfriend or whatever. And like, her dad sets her up on a date with him. And Nosferatu's whole thing is he's like obsessed with the plague and rats and all this shit. And he takes her, he's like, they get done eating dinner, and he's like, oh, come with me over here, I want to show you something, and so he makes her like close her eyes, and then when she opens them, he has like a jukebox, and he like hits a button, and all these lights come onto him, and it just starts playing this rave music, and he just starts like closing his eyes and like wiggling around and dancing and stuff. And if I remember right, the music is like Raven Vampire, Raven Vampire, Raven Vampire. Like, it's something really weird. And I giggled. Like, it was stupid enough for me to be like, this is funny, Yeah. And then later on in the movie, he keeps popping up at points. Like, they go to a bar, and he'll be like, he's in the background, like, dancing or something. And then later, I believe it's the grandpa, and he's reading not a magazine, a newspaper. And the front story is like a local man eaten alive by rats or whatever, and it's Nosferatu on the newspaper. And I was like, oh man, they got my homie Nosferatu. But yeah, that was funny. Oh, I'm getting a phone call on my work phone. Who is that from? I can't see. Fuck them. We don't care about them. But yeah, the colors are really good. This whole movie's a prequel. If you haven't seen it, it's a prequel of how Herman was made and how he meets, Lily, and how they get together, how they get the mansion. I knew the mansion. It is the way they get the mansion. Near the end of the movie, they get like, They get kicked out of their house. Count Dracula has this castle, and Herman's just this dummy. And so Lily's brother, I think his name's Lester or something. He's a werewolf in the movie, which according to the folks, they don't remember there ever being a werewolf brother. I know there's the werewolf son. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, there's the werewolf brother, and he's like a con man and a gambler and everything. And he basically convinces Lester to like sign over this contract that's supposed to be them like becoming business partners. You know, and he's like, "Aren't you the man of the house? Can't you, you know?" And Lester's like, you know, or not Lester, or Lester's a brother. Yeah, Herman's like, "Yeah, I am the man," you know. So he like signs it, but all it did is like he just signed the deed over from the castle to Lester or whatever. So they get evicted, and the grandpa, who the whole time has hated Herman because he's like an idiot, is like, "Oh, well, you have to take me with you now." And this is, they just kind of have to get, you know, close together because they need each other. And so they like move to the suburbs, and it's like this nice neighborhood with all these nice houses, and it's Halloween, so like everyone's dressed up like a ghoul. And so the whole time they're like, "Man, everyone is beautiful around here," because they're like zombies and shit. And so they come across the mansion that they have in the show that's just like all the dark and graveyard and spider webs everywhere and shit. And the realtor lady goes walking like towards like another house. And they're like, "Listen, lady, I don't know who the fuck you're trying to kid here. We want this house, you know?" And she's like, "Deal." And they're like, "Listen here, bitch." They don't say that, but they're like, "We want this house." And then, you know, eventually they realize that, oh, she's giving it to us. Because the whole time this house has been like a pain in her ass because everyone's about to buy houses. But then they see like this ugly beat down mansion, and so they don't buy houses. So she thinks they're going to fix it up, but they're like, "No, this is fucking perfect," you know? So that's how they get the mansion. And then that night there's a big Halloween party, and they go out and they're like talking to everybody, and they win best costume contest, but they don't know that's what it is. Herman thinks it's like a beauty contest. So he's like up there and he's getting the award, and he's like, "We're beautiful. We're number one. We're number one." And he's getting pulled off the stage and shit. So like I said, there's a couple moments where the comedy works in this movie. Like then the next morning, the last little bit of this movie is actually pretty good now that I think about it, with some of the jokes. Where Herman has to get a job, you know, because they're fucking broke and now they have house payments and shit. And so he like gets a job like moving around caskets and shit at this fucking what is it called? Not a funeral. Maybe it is a funeral home. But moving like bodies around and all this shit. And he's like, "I can do that, you know?" So he's like leaving for work the next morning, and he's like, you know, walking out. He's like strutting and shit. Homie playing Herman has to wear like, they're probably a foot tall, these just giant boots and stuff. There's a scene of him like just walking down this giant flight of stairs, and I was so scared for him. Like, it just looked like the most unstable thing I've ever seen in my life. But, you know, I haven't seen any behind the scenes, but it seemed like he nailed it. I don't know if he had a tough time with it, you know, in the real world. But so he goes to work the next morning, but he comes out and Halloween's over, so everyone has the masks off, and he just sees like all these normal looking people, and he's convinced that the town has been taken over by just fucking like ghouls and shit. And he goes running back inside, and he's like, "There's fucking monsters and freaks out there." And they don't believe him, and then they go out there and see it, and they're like, "What the fuck happened?" You know? And yeah. And then Lester shows up, and like somehow whatever Herman had signed off on, it like he gets his cut, and they're fucking rich. So I don't think he had to go to work, even though I think in the TV show he does have a job. So I don't know, you know. I doubt this movie ever gets a sequel, but who knows? Because I think it's very divisive. Like, I think some people really liked it. Other people are like, no, this isn't it. But then again, that seems like all movies nowadays, right? Like Slipknot just put out, what is it, their seventh called the End So Far or whatever, and it's like split down the middle. It's either hate it or love it, and I haven't seen any in between. I think I kind of fall on the hate it point of the. I don't know. The first song of the album is called Adderall, and it's like this slow kind of, and it's really divided fans. And that's honestly maybe my favorite new song from the album. Yeah. Well, that's not true. One of the songs that people seem to not like very much, but I think is the best song off the whole album, the Chapeltown Rag or whatever it's called. It is so, Corey has like this screaming chorus that I don't think I've ever heard him do on a song, and it's just really good, and that's probably my favorite song off the album. But people seem to I don't know, not like it. But yeah, I didn't care for it very much. But I'm just like, it's so, everything nowadays is so divisive. Fucking everything Marvel does is split down the middle. The She-Hulk show, I know some people were like, this is the best, and some people were like, this is terrible. Daredevil just came back on the She-Hulk show. I saw one clip, and it did look really terrible, but I haven't watched the show, so who am I to judge? I guess I probably should have finished that sentence before taking a swig, but whatever, fuck it. Yeah, so what else is there to talk about the Munsters? Besides, like, story stuff, because I don't remember most of it. Yeah, I don't know. You should just go watch it, I guess. Like, anything we talk about is never supposed to, just be you listening to it, and so you don't have to watch it. Like, you should always watch it to get your own opinion, because who knows, you might fucking dig it. But I didn't care for it. We do still have to watch his last movie. He still has, like, it's called like 31 or whatever, and we haven't watched it yet, where it's like a clown on the cover or something. And I can't remember if it's in jail or something. They had some, but we haven't watched it yet. It's been a long time since we watched one of his movies, because the last one was Lords of Salem, and that one was like, it was actually different than his other movies, so it was pretty cool that way. I think Tyler might have said it was his favorite zombie movie we've done was Lords of Salem, but. Yeah, so we still have to watch that other one. I don't know Sherry Moon has to be in it, right? I think I always like to keep track of the people who've popped up most, and I think Sherry Moon Zombie, like, she's pretty far up there on the list. She's not number one. Honestly, I think Brad Dourif might be number one right now, because he's been in all the Chuckies. I mean, he's the voice. He only popped up, like, in human form in one of them, right? But he's the voice, and then he was in both of the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. So, and we're on Bride, so there's 3 more Chucky movies, and the TV show I covered, and now season 2's out, so Brad Dourif might be taking a commanding lead. I think Bill Moseley is probably second, because, Texas 2, all the 3 Rob Zombie ones he was in. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe Bill Moseley's only been in 4. And Sherry Moon beat that. Has he not been in anything else? I could have sworn he was in something. I guess not, though. Anyway. But yeah, the Munsters is, it's very stupid. It's very stupid. Which sometimes that works for me. I found myself, I've never been a big Beavis and Butthead fan, but I watched the movie, and it was one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. And then I've started watching the show, and I enjoy it so much. I don't know, like, it just works so well for me, and that's very stupid comedy. So the Munsters comedy isn't as stupid as Beavis and Butthead comedy, but it's very stupid. So if you enjoy stupid comedy, maybe you'll enjoy this. But it just didn't hit for me. I didn't like it. Plus, it was like my dad fell asleep an hour into it. Like, I was supposed to be doing other stuff that night, and I got suckered into watching this fucking movie that I wasn't liking. So, yeah. So I don't know, but go check it out if you want to check it out. Speaking of Nosferatu, I saw the other day that I don't remember if production had started or if they had just like got the cast together for the Nosferatu remake that Robert Edgers is making, which I'm very interested in. Obviously, if you've stuck around for a while, you know that Robert Edgers has become one of my favorite directors, and Tyler's. To be fair, he made The Lighthouse, which is incredible. One of my favorite horror movies of all time. And then he made The Northman. I can't remember if it was this year or last year that it came out. And when we watched it first, it was like really good. Upon like second watching, it wasn't as good as the first time, but it was still really good. And so I really like The Northman. And then The Witch, I'm kind of on. Like, The Witch is fine, but it's not as good as his other stuff to me. But all his stuff is very interesting, and the choices he makes and stuff. So when I saw he was doing Nosferatu, I was like, all right, well, let's see, what this is going to be about. I think I read that Bill Skarsgård, who, funny enough, he's brother to Alexander Skarsgård, who was in The Northman, the main character, who also was, fucking, God, what was his name in True Blood? Eric in True Blood. But yeah, and Bill Skarsgård, for himself, played Pennywise in the 2 It movies from a couple years ago. And he had a small little cameo in Deadpool 2. He was part of X-Force. He was the one that had the acid, like, spit. Who, spoiler for Deadpool 2, jumps out of the helicopter and they just all get fucked up. But yeah, so he'll be playing Nosferatu. And I don't remember who it said the female lead was. But I'm really interested in seeing that. I wonder if he's going black and white again, like he did for The Lighthouse. I would imagine he probably does. The bigger question I have is, does he keep it like a silent movie with just music? I don't know who's producing it, like a studio or whatever, but honestly, I can't imagine a studio would let him do that. Like, a silent movie nowadays, you're gonna get your film snobs and your film, nerds and stuff, like myself, who's like, oh shit, look at this, but the casual person, like, isn't gonna watch a silent movie, I don't think, So I can't imagine that he does a silent movie. But it'd be pretty cool if he did. It might, the movie might not be very good if he did, honestly, but it'd be interesting to see it. But I don't know if he would do that, or if he would be allowed to do that. It might not be a question of if he would do that, because as weird as he is, probably yeah, but there's other people who have to make money off this thing. And so, plus, if I remember right, The Northman didn't do very good at the box office, and that was his first, like, big studio movie. Like, that, it wasn't an A24 film. It was, like, Universal or Warner Bros. And it didn't bomb, but it didn't do great. And so I remember being like, ooh, I wonder if, there's maybe a bad taste in Hollywood's mouth of Robert Edgers, But he could always go back to A24, because I guarantee you A24 will let him make a silent movie. Because A24 will fucking make anything, it seems like. And for the most part, it seems to work. For the most part. In some cases, we've covered some that didn't work. In my opinion. Midsummer. It comes at night. But yeah, so I'm very interested in the Nosferatu movie, which we'll cover. Nosferatu, I don't remember if it hit its 100-year birthday yet. I know it was close because the movie came out 1922, so I don't remember what month. But yeah, that was fun watching that one when we did that. It was very different. Like, we didn't even give it a score because it was just like history, It was just fun to watch. I mean, it's a century old. Like, people have been born and died since that movie came out. It was just cool to watch it. So, yeah. So I'm looking forward to the remake. I don't know when it'll come out. It can't be. It'll probably be like 2024 or something. Which, fucking Deadpool 3 got announced, and they were like, "Hey, we're bringing back Wolverine with Hugh Jackman." And I was like, "Cool." And then I think they were like, "All right, cool, it's coming September of 2024." And it was like, "Oh my god, that's so far away." But the way that the years just keep rolling by, it might not be as far as, we think. Plus, with all this Biden talking about Russia's gonna nuke everybody, it might not come at all. But yeah. So if it does come, I'll be very interested. That's also the way I feel about Son of the Forest, which is the sequel to the Forest video game. If any of you ever played it, me and Tyler played it about 3 years ago. Made a whole video out of it on the gaming channel. Fun fact about the gaming channel: I think The Forest was the first video we ever made that wasn't a PUBG video. Because at that time, all we were doing was playing PUBG. And I think The Forest was the first video that wasn't PUBG. And I watched it the other day because The Forest 2 got pushed back to February of next year. And I went back just for like memories and watched that video. And it's so like... just a different time. Like, the way I recorded it was like NVIDIA GeForce clips, so it would record I don't even remember, because for a while my NVIDIA clips were set to like every 2 minutes. It would record the last 2 minutes or something, so it took a while for me to move it to 5. And so like it was just so like the clips, like I didn't edit anything the way I would make them back then. I didn't have Vegas. So I would just put it in like, God, I don't remember the name of it was just like you would go to pictures, and that's where your videos would be, and you could edit them and then put them all together in one and like export it. And it was such a weird way of making videos, and I did it for so long. At least like the first 6 months of the gaming channel, I think. I remember the first episode that we got Vegas and like tried out, putting captions and stuff, and the lettering was so big, and it was just, and then when I'm trying to record the story stuff for The Forest, like I'm having to record every 2 minutes so I don't miss cutscene stuff that's important. And it was just weird watching old memories, stuff like that. It was fun, being like, that was so long ago when we were all on the same schedule. And like, nowadays, I mean, all of us are on. Maverick's unemployed. I'm working like 6 a.m. to 6 in the afternoon. Tyler's like 11 a.m. to 7. We never have the same days off. It's just, it was just fun going back and watching, little memories like that. But I'm very I want that sequel to come out. Me and Tyler are very excited about it. I told Tyler when it got pushed back, and he responded with, "I'm legit upset about this." Like, he was like, "God damn it." Yeah. And so, whenever that comes out, I'm sure there'll be a video of it. There's a lot of videos coming out over there. Go check it out. I know we plug it, but it's been popping off over there for a while. For some reason, I didn't mean to do this, but it seems like tomorrow there's a tier list video that me and Maverick did. We're just fucking around with random tier lists. And I think the next 3 weeks, it's all zombie videos. Like, it's 7 Days to Die, Project Zomboid, and then like a Dying Light video. So like the month of October is turned into these zombie games. I didn't mean to do it, but it kind of works out. So you know. Um, but yeah, so anyway, like I said, oh, someone's mowing the grass. I think I'm gonna wrap up because, like I said, I didn't have very much to talk about here, you know. So, oh, actually, I know I was about to wrap up, and there's a guy mowing the grass now, so I probably should wrap up because that's gonna be in the background. But another speaking of zombies, The Walking Dead just came back out for the final time. It's gonna go off after this episode, couple of episodes, and boy, have they completely just fucked that show up. I know I've mentioned it through the a couple times, but it's just terrible. Like spoiler talk for The Walking Dead, sorry, but like Negan's like part of the group now, and him and Maggie are like together, like working together, and they're gonna have a spin-off show with them in like New York, like Maggie and Negan in like New York or whatever. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Negan killed her husband, the father of her child, in front of her. Like, that's not how this works. They don't become friends, you know? The Negan story in the book was so perfect, where it just wrapped up with him in that little shack, and he started to like maybe become what he was again, and then he just stopped because Negan was dead. That Negan character was dead, and now he was just this guy, and they just ruined it. And it's just the whole thing they're doing with I don't even remember the name of the town they're in, but it's like the sanctuary town with all the armed guards and stuff, and like there's this giant conspiracy and there's these murders, and it's like what are we doing? Like, this didn't, I don't know, I don't like it. They have spin-offs for Daryl, which originally was supposed to be Daryl and Carol, I thought, and now there's not Carol. I'm hoping that she gets killed. She's been the worst character for at least a decade on that show. Like, just constantly flipping emotions, going crazy, not being crazy, going crazy again, getting people killed. Just terrible. But Daryl, and then there's another spinoff. God, I can't remember what was the spinoff of that one. Oh, the other spinoff was Rick and Michonne, and that was like the movie that's 7 years too late. Or no, it's not a movie anymore. It was supposed to be a movie, and now it's a miniseries on AMC Plus. And it's like, I'm not watching this. Like, I do not care at this point. So I don't know what the ending's gonna be. It kind of spoils it, where you feel like, well, Daryl's not gonna die, and Maggie and Negan aren't gonna die. So I just don't. It's just so bad. It's really bad. I keep hoping they'll bring in like just a cameo of Clementine from the Telltale games, but I don't think we'll ever get it. But yeah, it's just terrible. Boy, they really. Yeah, yeah, that's terrible. And then on the exact opposite scale of that, the Game of Thrones spinoff came out, the House of Dragons, and it's just been really good. And even though I don't know hardly anybody's name on that show, but it's been really good. There was a point in the last episode where I'm not spoiling anything, so you don't have to. But there was a point where, from a certain section where a character did something, to about the next 20 minutes is the best, like, 25 minutes of TV that show has done. It was really well done. It was really good. And then every Sunday I end up watching The Walking Dead, and just like, what is this shit? But anyway, so that was it. I shoehorned in a little bit of Walking Dead talk, which, also, like, half the characters are just gone. They brought in the dude, I don't remember his name, but he's the guy from Balls of Steel, the pinball movie, or Balls of Fury. And he was in there. He's also in those Wizard of Oz movies. What are the Fantastic Beasts? And he's just disappeared. He's just not around. They had Judith and whatever Michonne and Rick's kid's name is, and they've just wasted those characters. They just pop up every now and then. They're like, hey, like they could have made Judith a Clementine character, but they just didn't do anything with them. And Princess, who came along maybe in the last book or the second to last book and became one of my favorites. She just hasn't even been around in the last, I don't know. It sucks. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble on episode 118.5. Next week will be Bride of Chucky. It'll be edited and uploaded, and then hopefully the computer will be fixed, and it'll be all good to go. Go check out the gaming channel. Yeah, I hope you guys have been having a better week than I have, so. Alright, I'll see you guys next week. Bride of Chucky.